Now welcoming on to the Chirp STL podcast, former St. Louis Blues and current Tampa Bay Lightning forward, but always hometown hero, Stanley Cup champion, Pat Maroon. Patty, how you doing?
Good, boys. How are you guys doing?
Good.
No complaints. Just kind of grinding away with the old quarantine, trying to get through it.
Pretty much
Hey.
same thing.
I hear you guys. It's been terrible, but whatever. We'll get through it. It's obviously tough times, but do you find ways to get through it? And everyone does.
Yep.
We're all going through this, so we're all going through the same thing. But we find ways to get through it. We always do.
Yep. I saw Justin and the fam kind of got together a little birthday parade for you the other day.
Yeah, they did. It was
Yeah.
actually I didn't want a parade, but they obviously went through and did it. So it was really good gesture of my family, Justin, my brother and sister, obviously my mom and dad. So they had fun doing it. They obviously got the firefighters and the police involved. So that was always good when the sirens are going off. So all the neighbors are thinking something's happening, but really it's a birthday parade. So
It's just the Maroon family.
yeah, that's it. So we always try to make loud noises.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, to kind of get things going here, we want to start where hockey began with you. And Marky and I both know, playing roller growing up, what it's like to grow up and play hockey at the sports mall, and what it's like for your Uncle Rob kind of running the show up there. And we just want to get your take on how your start with hockey went and what the whole process behind roller hockey and being at the sports mall was like.
Yeah, I mean, growing up playing hockey and at a young age, starting at 5 years old, playing ice hockey, and then parents got introduced to Greg Garsh and Nancy Garsh, and Sean Garsh became one of my best friends. He found ways. Greg owns All American Sports Mall, so I just wanted another outlet to play hockey, and roller hockey was another outlet to obviously get better, but something to do in the summertime and play with all your buddies, and that's how I pretty much met all my best friends, to be honest with you, through that. But growing up playing in Merrimack, moving on and going to Afton Americans, playing Central States there, then trying out for AAA, then finally making that, and it was a long journey, but it wasn't an easy route, but I found ways to manage it and get better through it. So
Yeah, and then just along with the progression, like going through Afton and AAA and everything like that, like you said, roller was a big part of it, playing with like Blast, Home Care, Snipers, and everything like that. How much did roller actually elevate your game and translate into pro ice?
In various ways. I mean, for me, it was more, the hands, the vision, the patience, finding ways to work in tight areas. There's so many ways that roller hockey can help players. I think it's really good for players, to be honest with you. I think it's another skill set to work on things. And obviously for me, it was hands, it was vision, it was being more patient with the puck, holding on to it a little bit longer than usual, finding time and space. But as I got older, you just find ways to create. Obviously, I wasn't the fastest skater, so I had to find ways to adapt to the speed and adapt how I was going to be able to play and keep up with these guys. And I just worked on lots of hours on my hands and vision and patience with the puck. And roller hockey was an outlet for me to do that. And that's why I literally played all day, every day on Saturday afternoons and all the way through, midnight, because that was the only time I can get better and actually work on it. Back then, we didn't have what they have now, is skills coach, power skating coaches. I mean, they have everything now where ice hockey players can have an outlet to get better and work on those things. For me, it was just I taught myself.
Yeah, just you and your brothers at All American, just kind of grinding away, trying to get better, sort of thing, and Sean and them.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to find ways to adapt. You need to know what kind of player you are, and at a young age, and what kind of player you want to be. I think that's what's hard for kids now growing up. They all want to be skilled and fast, and they want to be the best player, but unfortunately, you're not. And when you get older, you'll realize that, and or if you go farther into juniors or on the pro level, you're not going to be that guy anymore, and you got to find ways to adapt and be a player that you thought you were growing up, but you have to be a different player, at another high level, and that's kind of what I always worked for, is just adapt to different situations and uncomfortable situations, I would say. And because growing up, I was good at roller hockey. I was good at ice, but there's always better players than me growing up. And as the more you get older, they're way better, but you have to find ways to adapt and fit in.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, what was high school hockey like for you? Everybody knows that you went to Oakville High School by now, but what was high school hockey specifically like for you?
Oh, it was good. It's definitely different now. It's not the pace as it was when I played. I
Nope.
feel like it's totally different. I think that just goes off of ice time. Like coaches that coach AAA don't want them to play high school hockey now, or it's just like parents don't want them to risk playing high school hockey, which I loved high school. I loved Oakville. I played my freshman, sophomore year. That was only 2 years I played. Freshman year was great. We lost in the semis to DeSmet. And then my sophomore year, we went to state, and we lost in state to CBC. But I got the chance to play with all my buddies, and I got the chance to play in front of the student crowd, which everyone lives for. And Oakville always has a good crowd. It was always fun to play in front of them and play for the school your brothers went to, and you kind of follow their footsteps. And Oakville was always a good program, but they never won that state championship. And it's awesome. They won the following year that I left, so they won my junior year, it was cool.
Yeah, but that South County barn can get a little rowdy. Tight packed, and when that thing packs up, it's loud.
It's very loud, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a good student section. I think it was one of the best. Obviously, the Catholic schools always have good ones. They're always good. They're loud. They have good chants. So, I mean, it was fun. High school hockey was great back then. I just feel like it's really, really died down.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, with coaching with your brother Justin at Summit, it's a common issue just with a bunch of different teams, like kids playing AAA and high school. You got to work around, because nowadays that AAA schedule, I mean, it takes priority for a lot of the kids. So a lot of the times, like just in normal, like games on the weekends for high school and everything like that, most of the guys don't have their full rosters and everything like that. So you really don't get to see the extent of the talent, but it has died down for sure because of that.
For sure.
Yeah. So after you left Oakville, you got the chance to play for the Bandits here in St. Louis in your second year in the NHL. What was it like playing there? And a little bit of irony, as some people may or may not know, your coach now, John Cooper, was your coach with who's also your coach for the Bandits.
Yeah, so from AAA, I got drafted to the London Knights. Obviously, I'll touch on that a little bit, but my career kind of went backwards. When I got drafted, I came back. Touch on the subject I didn't really finish when you guys asked is I came back when I got drafted for the OHL. I tried to try out for a junior B team, Petroleum Jets, and Sarnia. I came back, didn't make it. Came back and played for African American Central States. So I backtracked tremendously from playing AAA hockey to getting drafted to the OHL to now playing AA hockey, basically, to kind of finding what I really wanted to do. And we got picked up halfway through the season, and Scott Sanderson called me and Timmy Gardner, and kind of was a package deal. We finished the year with AAA Blues, and that's when Kelly Chase kind of recruited me to tender me to go to the Texarkana Bandits, which led to John Cooper being the head coach, which he's my head coach now in Tampa Bay. It was great times. We played in a rodeo barn. It was muddy everywhere. It was like aluminum can. We had to build our own rink. We had to put our own ice in, our own boards.
Seriously?
Our locker room was basically a rodeo barn. And it was insane. So our first round of playoffs, we had to play in St. Louis because there was a rodeo going on. So that just goes to show you that what was going on in Texarkana. But I think it was I had an unbelievable experience. My billet family was great. Phaedra and Norma. We had it was called the White House. Is the biggest house in town at the time, and there was 9 players that lived in there. So we had a great time, great experience junior, and it was definitely not what I was used to, but you obviously get nervous going in to play juniors, and we didn't know what to expect, but had a good year that year. I played with some good players. We ended up losing in the second round to Texas, and then our team actually ended up moving to St. Louis, obviously because the ice, there was nothing really going on in Texarkana. We would get 4,500 fans every single night, but it was just hard to maintain the ice and keep up with it. And we were trying to build a arena there, but it fell through. So that's why the team moved.
Yeah. So you've kind of had a bit of a like kind of both ends of the wild spectrum for junior hockey, with Texarkana playing in a rodeo barn, and then obviously the Bandits, but then playing up in London in one of the biggest hotbeds for junior hockey in the OHL. So what was that like? Just the two different like universes almost.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, when I played in St. Louis, we had 50 fans at Iceplex or whatever it's called.
Hardy's, yeah.
RIP.
So it was tough. I think we got more fans towards the end when we actually played the Tornadoes in the semifinals to head to nationals that year, because we ended up winning that year. But we actually got at least 2,500 towards the end. But in the beginning, it was our family and maybe extended family from it was either my family in the stands or someone else's families that are in there for the weekend. So, or extra players that are healthy scratch. So, it was different, but then you went up to London. It was a different animal. It was 9,000 fans every single night. It was ran like an NHL team facility, equipment manager, strength coach. We had it all, and had coaches, 3 of them instead of 2. And it was video. We just had all the works. And I was really nervous going into it, but it was just another challenge for me to get over the hump here and move to the next level. It happened so fast, though, the whole transition, playing Tier 2 Junior A in the North American Hockey League, and then having the GM of London come down and offer me to play for the London Knights a contract. And I was committed to Ferris State University at the time, so I didn't really know what to expect. But obviously they sent a lot of players to the NHL, so it was kind of risk reward kind of thing. It was either going to work out or it wasn't, and it did. So, Dale Hunter and Mark Hunter were unbelievable to me, and it was a great organization. I ended up having a really strong year, and the Flyers ended up signing me at the end of the year.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off that whole you were drafted by Philly thing, and you end up coming up with the Ducks, and you spent some time in Edmonton and New Jersey, all before coming to St. Louis finally. I'd just like to get your take on what's it like playing with captain-like figures such as like a Getzlaf or a Corey Perry, or even like a young star like McDavid. Like what goes in like your head being able to play with guys like that?
Yeah, obviously Philly didn't work out the way I wanted to, but I got traded to Anaheim. I finished a year there, and then I had a really strong year in the American League. I ended up playing my first ever 2 NHL games that year, and then the following year was a lockout year, and that's kind of when I made it. But getting called up, having a guy like Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry, 2 veteran players that have won before, won a Stanley Cup, that know what it takes, elite players in the game, guys that people respect around the league, and they really took me under their wing. I became really close with them. They're my closest friends outside of other teams, and just goes to show you what kind of people they were. As young guys, when you come up in the NHL, older guys don't have to talk to the young guys, but out of respect, they hold you accountable. They make you understand what it takes to stay in the league, and they let you know what you need to do. And if you do that, you gain so much more respect from those kind of guys. So if you come in, work hard, do the little things that make you a better hockey player, stick up for your teammates. Just be a really good guy in the locker room. They'll show respect for you, and having those guys around really matured me to kind of stay in the league a little bit.
So you finished up that year in New Jersey before you eventually signed here. Were the Blues kind of always on a table or on the table, a destination for you, or did they kind of come into the process late and after they had made some other moves first?
I mean, it was always an idea. Obviously, as kids, you want to play for your hometown you grew up playing for. Again, it goes back to is it going to be good or is it going to be bad? Some people sign in their hometown and it goes really shitty. Some people sign in and it goes really well. David Freese, for example, went very well, but obviously he knew it was time to get out after he won because lots of noise. So for me, it was always an option to come home. I didn't think it was going to happen, honestly. We had teams knocking on the door, and St. Louis was kind of late to it, and I listened to their offer. It was between New Jersey and St. Louis. I really wanted to go back to New Jersey. There was a lot more money than that, but at the end of it, I didn't really look at money. At the bigger picture, I was just looking at what I can do here in St. Louis, come back home, put a blue sweater on, be with my family and friends, be with my son. Better chance to win. I didn't think New Jersey, I'm not knocking them, but I didn't think we had a good enough team to go all the way. And I wanted to win a Stanley Cup, and I thought St. Louis was the better option to win a Stanley Cup. If you look at the lineup, by then they had O'Reilly, they had Tyler Bozak, they brought back David Perron. So we had all the options for us. So I was looking at papers in the lineup where I'd fit. I can fit up and down the lineup, play with a lot of good players. Obviously bring in Robert Thomas, first-round pick. So we had a lot of new additions, a lot of new faces to the team. So that being said, it was a very, very tough decision. It was kind of late, but Army came back with a little bit more money, and I decided, me and Francesca, let's just do it. Let's risk it and kind of see where it takes us. And you get to be with Anthony all year. He gets to come watch you play all year. He gets to see you in the locker room, just kind of see what I do. Obviously, he does come visit me, but not to an extent. He doesn't really see my routines coming to the locker room after the games, and kind of seeing what the other kids do. So we signed, and we took the chance to sign with St. Louis, and everything was kind of worked out from there. Obviously, I didn't have the start I wanted to. I had a really bad year offensively, but at the end of it worked out.
And if I remember correctly, I think Rob told me this or something like that. Originally, whenever I think you were talking to Big Phil, your dad, you weren't like you said, you kind of decided late on where to end up. Like you were kind of leaning towards New Jersey, and then you ended up calling your dad like, "Well, I decided to stay in St. Louis," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was tough. I mean, you go back and forth. You call your parents, you call your buddies. I talk to Francesca. I'm talking to Anthony too, my son, because he kind of knows. I just wanted someone to tell me just to stay in St. Louis, and no one really told me that, which was really good because they wanted me to make my own decision.
Right. Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be here. My heart was telling me to come here, and it was a really tough decision because Ray Sherrill, the general manager in New Jersey, was awesome to me and my family, and I knew he would be upset if I didn't come back. So it was tough, and I skate with the Blues every summer. I know people probably don't know that, but in the off season, I skate with all those guys in the summer. So I already felt like I was part of that locker room. I was playing golf with them 2 times a week, so I already felt like I was a part of the team before I even was on the team. So
Right.
that was another easy decision because they kind of knew my personality and I knew theirs, and they kind of knew what kind of guy I was. So it all worked out, man.
As we kind of all know, things didn't exactly plan out the way they were supposed to for the first half of last season. And instead of asking you all the same questions you've probably been hearing for the past year, we want to ask you about Brian O'Reilly, Ryan's dad, since we had him on this show exactly right after the Cup had ended. On your second appearance on Spittin' Chicklets, you said Ryan told you to talk to him and try to get your head right a little bit. How much of a help was that heading into the second half of the season?
It was good. I remember till this day. I mean, Coach Bry was great. I was a healthy scratch, and I didn't know what was going on, kind of where I was at. And when you're a healthy scratch in your hometown, it's kind of embarrassing, not going to lie, because people are texting you and asking you what's going on.
Yeah.
And you kind of just tell them to shut up. But he was in town that time. Ryan was actually napping, and we sat outside by the pool. And we sat there and just talked. We talked for about an hour and a half. And he just kind of got my head back to where I needed to be, my headspace, which was what got you to the NHL. What kind of player are you? You're not playing like you're supposed to be playing. You're not playing with the confidence you usually play with. And it was an easy talk. And he's easy to talk to. And went out the next game. I think I scored. And then it just kind of I went on like a really good tear towards the end. I think it was like 4 goals in 4 games or 5 games, 5 goals in 5 games, whatever it was. But he just kind of cleared my head a little bit. You know, when you go through tough times like that, you tend to grip the stick. Your brain goes somewhere else, and it's frustrating. And you bring that negativity home sometimes, and then you bring it back to the rink, and then just nothing works out. So he kind of just calmed me down and brought me down to where I needed to be and cleared me up a little bit. And I just went out there and I said, screw it. This is what I'm going to do. If they like it, great. If they don't, then we'll figure something else out.
So as we know, from that point on, momentum began to build, and we know the whole story in the second half of the season. I want to go back to January 7th, 2019, Jordan Binnington's first start. What was the mood then? Like he comes up, and obviously you're not expecting him to do what he did, but we know what he did now. Were you guys just kind of like, all right, let's go out and get this kid a W? Because it's his first NHL start, and we're going to play better for him. It's his first NHL game, and to see what it's turned into, just kind of talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in dead last place, you don't know what to expect, right? So. We just kind of went out there and played another game. I think as goalies, they're a little different. So he was kind of in the zone as to morning skate to pregame meal to snack to game time. So he was kind of dialed in. And if you guys know Jordan's background, it was kind of like mine. He had to earn his take, and nothing came easy to him. And you know, he was a 4-string goalie in the Blues organization at the time. And
right.
When you feel like that, you kind of feel like you're not accomplishing anything, and you feel like no team wants you. So, he was playing in Providence a year ago, not last year. I mean, in the farm system, but we had a farm system, the Blues did, but he was loaned to Providence. So just goes to show you that he just felt like they didn't want him. So I think when he got called up, it was like, okay, cool. All right, it's my time. I need to shine, and I only have one opportunity at this. I only have one kick at the can. I just don't want to come in for a coffee. I want to stay for a long time. So he had his cup of coffee and more. So
I'd say
he played really well, and it just goes to show you, though. I mean, he won the OHL. I think he was MVP too. So he had all the skills. He was a third-round draft pick, so it wasn't like he wasn't on the radar from the beginning, but I think it was a time for him. He took advantage of it, and he shined, and I'm very, very happy for him.
So, kind of to fast forward to the Game 7 play, the one of the biggest goals in Blues history and of your career. So we had, like I told you, we had Cam on the other week, and it kind of came up, and I'm going to play a clip for you just to kind of hear what he had to say about it. It's pretty cheese.
Dude, I had we did a Zoom call the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Me,
I saw that.
YP, and Patty and Robert Thomas. I go, Patty, you almost fucked that whole play up. Don't act like that was you got in fucking. I go, you got in Rob Thomas's way for one, you big fuck. And Robert Thomas had to like toe drag your fat ass and then come
to
around.
get a shot on.
And then get around like you could have fucked that whole process up. But Robert Thomas is so good. And then Patty's like, oh, where's it at? Oh, there it is. Like, good God Almighty.
The guy's a character.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a piece of work. That
Yeah.
guy's he's insane. He's full of energy. He just says it how it is. That's how he is.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back at all. It's wild.
You can hear
No,
it the way he talks about you and like just kind of what happened last season. Like he's just like he's kind of like almost a true fan. Like he's a fan and he's just proud, I guess, to say at the same time. He's just kind of blown away by the whole thing and just that story's hilarious even to hear it now.
We did chop off the part where he pumps Pat's tires a little bit.
Yeah, pumped your tires after that a little bit. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah.
No, Cam always pumps my tires. I mean, he's taught me everything. I mean, when I first signed with Philly and I came home for the summer, I needed someone to work out. He told me where to go, and I was in his workout crew. And I was skating with him. I was doing everything I needed to do, and he was teaching me how to fight, teaching me what it takes to make it to the NHL. So he was always there for me. He was a really good guy, and I think he paved the way for all these kids that are in the NHL now, because we all had the chance to skate with him. We all had the chance to see what it takes, and Cam didn't do it the easy way. I mean, he fought some heavyweights. He fought his way to the league, and he was just an animal at it, and he found ways to get it done. And he had a successful 8 years in the NHL, which for a tough guy to do that says a lot. And to do what he had to do, a guy that's 5'11", fighting guys that are 6'5". So he had to do it the right way, and he worked at it and worked on his craft every single day, and he knew what it took to stay in the league.
Legend.
Talking about guys fighting guys that are way bigger than them, what's with you and keep going after Zdeno Chara?
Yeah, you and Chara. You've had a couple bouts.
Sometimes we always look at each other saying we need one, so we always give each other one. Obviously, I do not want to do it, but I think he takes it easy on me.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature.
He's nuts.
In all serious, though, let's go back to the last season just a little bit here. How good is like Robert Thomas? And like you got the chance to play with him and Tyler Bozak kind of all throughout the season last year. You got to see like his rise and how much he grew in a single season. It's truly remarkable last season to watch you guys, the way you guys worked the puck and you guys cycled and the puck possession on the walls. It was like the little things that your line did right that made you guys so much fun to watch. Talk about him a little bit and what he brought to the table and what he might bring to the table later in his career.
Oh, he's going to be a heck of a player later in his career. I think he's having a really good year this year too.
Oh, yeah.
I think one thing that people forget about Robert Thomas is he's so strong on his feet. He's strong on the puck. He has really good puck possessions, good hands, good vision, and he can fly. He's actually really fast, and I think that's what worked out for us so well, because at the end of the day, I think what people misunderstand is, Bozy was a top guy in the NHL in faceoffs, and if you're not winning faceoffs, you don't have the puck. And I think with Bozy winning faceoffs a lot, and Robert coming off the wall, and we always had that play written up. That play was always there for us, and it was either he would take it down the wall or he would cut inside. But I'll touch on that a little later. But I think our line was just so effective because we played the right way. We kept it simple. We didn't really risk anything, and we got rewarded for that. With Bozy winning faceoffs and his veteran leadership and his hands and his shot, and then you had me with obviously below the top of the circles and puck possession and grinding people down low and getting to the front of the net, creating space for my line mates. Therm kind of find ways to feed off that and use his skill, use his hands in tight, because he can stick handle in a phone booth, that guy. I mean, he's so good in tight, and he's good at, you know, finding open areas to, you know, give people the puck. So we found ways. When we first went to the playoffs, like, hey, this is where teams down. Let's keep it simple. If we have to dump it in, and I'll go get it, and then create space for you two, and then I'll get to the front of the net. And that's kind of what we did, and we kept doing it. And Winnipeg series was a really good series. Dallas series was probably our best series. I didn't think we played okay in San Jose series, and then Therm obviously got hurt in the Stanley Cup Finals, which kind of separated our line. But I thought the first two series we were dominant. We were strong on the puck. We were doing the little things that can help our team win, and that's why our line was good from January on. When we were put together, obviously we didn't know what we were going to be like, but we knew what we had to do. And with Therm's skill and speed, that's good for us, because he can kind of navigate his way through the neutral zone with the puck. He can make his plays off the rush, and that's what we kind of needed. And it worked out great, and it continued to work out great in the playoffs, and that's why we had success.
Where's the I've noticed that a lot. Where's the nickname Therm come from for him?
Thermostat. I don't know. Just Robert Thomas. I think O'Reilly nicknamed him. So
That's funny.
He's a good kid, though.
Yeah.
Keller, before you jump to this next segment that we like to do with all of our guests, I want to ask you just kind of an off-the-top question here. In one of your Chicklets interviews, you mentioned you would take Colton Perico first from defensemen out of the NHL. Give us some insight on Colton Perico and why you would select him first, if you actually would.
I think I still would. I said it because I believe that. And I'm not just going off. Everyone goes off power plays. Obviously, Drew Doughty's a really heck of a player. But I think Colton's one of the top defensemen that doesn't get enough recognition. When he's on top of his game and he's playing mean, he has a good stick, good shot. You know, he can play in any position. He can play power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, and he shuts down every top line in the league. And I think that's hard enough already for anyone that has to do that. But I mean, he's got it all. I mean, who can say a 6'6" guy can skate like the wind like he can, and
Ridiculous,
and have a good stick, and, you know, have that first pass mentality. He's a specimen. He can play 35 minutes a night if he needed to. So, and, you know, he competes every single night. I don't think that kid takes a night off, and that's what's great about him. And I would take him over anyone.
All right, so what Sammy's kind of touching on, we were going to do a little bit of like a rapid fire, so you can answer as short as long as you want, and it's going to be about your Blues teammates from this past season, obviously, or last season, I should say. So the first one is, obviously, everybody got after it last summer, but if you had to pick one or two, who's the guy that got after it the most last summer?
Geez, me or O'Reilly? I'm sure everyone did. I don't know. I'm sure everyone did.
Well, yeah, because there was times, obviously, for half the summer, a lot of the summer, you guys all went home and stuff. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one because
then you had Sanford puking in the parade. There's a lot of options.
There's so many options. Yeah, I would say the whole team because we all took advantage of it.
Yeah, that parade was insane. Yeah,
that's
it was
fair.
Good times.
And dealing with this pandemic right now, who's the last guy you'd want to be quarantined with from that Blues roster?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Try to spare some feelings here.
Who would be the last? I'm just thinking of someone messy. Probably Sammy Blaze.
Yeah, the messy guy.
Actually, I don't know. He's a funny guy. I would say him.
Yeah. So, all right. So, say you're back on the Mission Beta Snipers. Timmy gives you a call, and you need a guy to sub in for an arch tourney. Who's the guy on the Blues you pick that would be the best on rollerblades?
Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He plays a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he skates in like the outside, but I think him because he's the only guy that knows how to rollerblade.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, his brother still plays, doesn't he?
I know his brother
Cal.
does stuff with State Wars and maybe a little Narch stuff here and there, but
the year before O'Reilly came here, him and Cal were listed on a rink rat pro team.
Yeah,
before,
that's right.
Before State Wars.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Who's the guy that has the weirdest pregame routine?
Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you consider?
Is there guys like the guy that like the creatures of habit? I guess the guys who do the same exact things before.
Yeah, like
before a
O'Reilly
game,
does
and you kind of just know it.
I
It's
mean,
common knowledge.
You guys all seen O'Reilly, right?
Yeah, with his stick thing. Yeah.
He does a bunch of stuff. He's like the guy that like he does all that stuff. So I would say him.
I'm curious to know Anthony's favorite player outside of yourself, because humble brag, it would probably be you. Who's his favorite player that he looks up to a lot outside of yourself?
I don't even think he knows because he doesn't watch enough hockey.
That's fair. He's playing too much Fortnite.
Yeah.
Well, you're a big problem with that, Mark.
Yeah, it's on me.
You're playing with him.
I know.
Oh, I guess he loves Long Island. He likes Matthew Barzell.
Oh yeah.
He likes Darnell Nurse. So I think whoever's nice to him.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's super fair.
Yeah, because him and Connor were McDavid were pretty tight up in Edmonton, weren't they?
Yeah, he loved Nursey a lot. He loved Connor. So
Yeah.
but I would say he talks about Matthew Barzell a lot, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Not a bad guy to look up to with that speed and skill that he's got. We'll be all right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, Patty. Well, I don't think we got much else, so just want to thank you for taking some time and coming on and chopping it up with us. And like I said, hope things are good over your household and all that. But like I said, thanks again.
All right, thank you, fellas. Stay safe, all right?
Yep. You
Yep.
too.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it, man. Thank you.
Yep, you too. Take it easy,
Yep.
Patty. See ya.